All right, let's move on to the Jacksonville Jaguars, who have also had a puzzling offseason. I really think it just boils down mostly to the Ridley, Josh Allen situation where they just kind of bungled that and were forced into drafting Brian Thomas in the first round when they really didn't have to do that if they were just proactive on the Josh Allen contracts. But are there any other areas on this team that give you hesitation for the upcoming year and areas that will make the Trevor Lawrence discourse worse than it already is?
I would just say like how they've gone about fixing their weaknesses. There's been a trend over the last couple of years. It started with the receiving core last year, how they just overspent for what I would consider a lot of mid talent. And then with Ridley, it was obviously like, we don't know what to expect from him coming back. But I feel like they kind of done the same thing with the offensive line this year, like just overpaying for guys that do fill a hole and could be good cogs in your offense, but you never want to be paying above market prices for like B talent. Like 80 overalls is what I would say. And that's what they've done. And it's just a continuation. I feel like the four scariest words for any NFL owner would be Trent Baalke coming to me and saying, I have a plan, because his plans never work out. And I think that's like the story of the offseason is if Baalke is this like genius team builder, like this genius eye for talent that I think he operates as, we would have seen it play out this offseason. I think this was the big offseason for them. This is the offseason they needed to nail. And he had a plan that was laid out very publicly. Like, I think everyone knew what their plan was with Ridley. And for it to backfire so, like, just blow up in their face, like, so quickly, I think is a real red mark for them. And if I was Shad Khan, if I was the owner of the team, I would be looking at the front office, especially after this offseason, and be like, how do you have faith that this guy's going to make the right moves? How do you have faith that he's going to nail an entire offseason? Because that's what you need. They need like a, what year was it when the Saints had that one big draft and they really turned things around?
2017.
They need that type of year. Otherwise, I feel like this is a sinking ship, even with Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, it's just crazy to see. Like, I feel crazy when I watch the Jaguars game and I have to go on Twitter and see people talk about how bad Trevor Lawrence is. And this is the Jaguars' fault totally for this being a thought in people's minds, and not really just being a thought, but like almost the overwhelming opinion. Like, I wrote an article last week that when the Trevor Lawrence contract comes, don't be surprised by it. Like, this is what they have to do, and he's also earned it. And it got like 400 comments. Like, an article about the Jaguars where people were vehemently disagreeing with the idea that Trevor Lawrence is a candidate for like a market rate quarterback extension. So that's the Jaguars' fault, because they actually do have a franchise quarterback. And the fact that people are still wishy-washy on it means they just haven't built up enough around him. And I just don't think they did enough this offseason too. And it's just a weird way to like approach such a pivotal offseason. And you started off with a huge mistake by letting Calvin Ridley hit free agency and walk to a division rival. Like, that is insane.
Just think it was a divisional rival that could only offer one thing, and that's like decent weather. Being in that, like, what else are the Titans offering?
Money,
like, that you can't offer.
$23 million a year.
Yeah, I mean, but the Jaguars are willing to pay a receiver. We know that much, but we've seen the margin for error that Trevor provides this team. Like, this wasn't a very good roster 2 years ago when they won a playoff game and they were competitive with the Chiefs on the road, the eventual Super Bowl champs in the playoffs. Like, I forget who fumbled. Was it Jamal Agnew? They're a Jamal Agnew fumble away from like playing a coin flip game against the eventual champs. And that was just 2 years ago. And that roster was not good. Like, no one would look at that roster before the season and be like, this is a divisional round roster. Like, the offense was mid at best. The defense, which we saw over time play out, could be exploited. And they still came that close to competing with the Super Bowl champ. So Trevor Lawrence has done enough for me to warrant that deal. And you're fooling yourself if you don't think that the talks with them start at $60 million, because that's the going rate for a quarterback right now. That's the going rate if you kind of compare what he's done to what Jared Goff has done and what contracts he signed. That's what he's going to sign with. $60 million is the starting point.
Yeah. Whew, this course could be bad that day.
Yeah, terrible.
5-year, $300 million contract for Trevor Lawrence.
We're going to look like the crazy people too. Be like, good deal, good money.
Yep. Speaking of a team which has a